Alright, hope everybody's doing well. Lots of drama in all the communities this morning and yesterday and all so on and so forth throughout the week, but I just want to post a positive video here and just give you my responses and my take on everything. And we'll just get out of this for a second here. What we've got going on here, if I can get to it here. Let's see if we can get to it here. Special releases Record Store Day. So for those in the vinyl community, I am not part of the vinyl community. I make records, make videos about records, but I'm not necessarily officially recognized as a member of the vinyl community. It's such a vast, huge, group of people there. There's, people you see constantly, but, do other people, watch me because I make records? It just, most of the people that watch my videos are part of my core group of subscribers already, and very few people, that are subscribed to other vinyl record channels watch my channel, but I do watch some of them and I do post comments. And what's interesting is that if you join, other videos and other groups and chats and that sort of thing, you'll find out that most of us is just like any communities, coin collecting, card collecting, just about anything. There's other people that collect road signs, traffic signals, license plates, and those kind of things, and they don't really necessarily have communities just yet. They have, some people that make videos, and then like trains, model trains, and that sort of stuff. They have, their collecting groups, and stamp collectors have their collecting groups. But also, those particular groups that they have, the clubs that they join, those are for people who, I want to say they distance themselves from other collectors, but a lot of people in those particular old-fashioned style groups, they have certain ways of collecting, and it's just a difference that some people have. My philosophy is that I have started collecting records back in I want to say the early 90s, early to mid 90s. And so I've seen the highs and lows and everything. And I have people that have collected records way longer than that. And they have problems with Record Store Day. They say it's a cash grab, And part of the reason for that is why they say things like I have a cash grab is because they don't have enough money to spend on Record Store Day. They're hitting the different thrift stores for the $1 to $5 records there, and then they would be not caught dead paying X amount of dollars for a certain new release, which is necessarily new songs. It's just maybe a reissue, a special vinyl. And no exception, this year we're going to have another Grateful Dead release on 4 LP vinyl or something crazy. It's going to be hundreds of dollars. All these have different limited editions, just like baseball cards, $12.50, $2,000, $4,000, $2,000, $1,000, $1,000, $2,500, and so on and so forth. And then Record Store Day is different for people across the world because they have different releases, like for UK and that sort of thing. And so sometimes you'll see something that you want to get, but it may not be available to you. Other people have 4 or 5 stores to go through, and other people have maybe 1 store to go to. One of the stores that I went to a few years ago was basically a super tiny store, and only 3 or 4 people could get any new releases at all, and that was it. He didn't limit, but if you were person number 15, there might have been 1 release for you to get, and that's all you could get. So he made a special deal because he couldn't get very many. He was able to procure, Adele, whatever her title album was, and he was charging only $10 for those. He got a huge deal from Target or whatever and bought them in bulk, and they still have them at Target. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that one was kind of a bust, but I came home with a good time, talked to a couple people. There was some confusion on where the line started, which direction it went, but once we got that squared away, all was figured out. Some people get very on their high horse, like you're trying to take their spot. And the first 2 people in the door was mother and daughter, and got the Taylor Swift album, which sells for quite an awful lot now. But even if it was available to me, I wouldn't have bought it because I don't know how to sell or flip these things properly to the person that will not try to scam me or complain that there's a scratch or a dent in it. So I'm going to show you a few records here. I think I have mostly what I wanted to share, and we'll go back to another screen here in a minute. I had Discogs open here. I was just looking up something on Discogs. I don't know if I still have that open. I have multiple windows open all the time. It just very confusing on how I want to set things up here. Just going through Discogs here. I was looking at some other stuff here, and it has nothing to do with anything today's video here. These are some prior records that I picked up before, and, you know, again, when you're in the record groups, everybody has to have something just so. But then when you mention that you're throwing away records in the trash, they get all in their, you know, get all backed up against a wall and complain that you didn't show them to them. But I explained that, you know, you told me last time that it was not worth showing you these records because I've got Andy Williams' Christmas album. You know, that guy this is just nightmare fuel. You know, there's several of them where he's looking, you know, straight forward upwards like he doesn't know how to blink. You know, and then this one was like a 3 for $1. And at the time that I grabbed this, I needed some dividers here. This needs to be stuck a little better on here because it's coming loose here. The tape is coming loose. But, you know, some people glue these on here, and other people said, oh my gosh, you destroyed a record here. You know, there's one less out there. There's tens of billions of old ruined vinyl records out there. Some of these will probably play just fine, but the last person I put these on a free pile one time and nobody would take them. And Penny Howell, who owned this, it was an interesting history of Penny Howell's record collection because it had her name and then it had her, you know, married name or the next name she had. So her collection went through quite a different, and they were all documented by her. I showed this before, but again, this is not worth saving. There's some damage on there. Again, 3 for $1. Some people would even touch these with a 10-foot pole. And then when I go out to the Goodwill bins, people complain that the records have been put out for a long time. But I like them to be out there for an awfully long time. I don't have the time or the money to just having fresh records every afternoon because I live 25 plus minutes away. I can't get to there. You know, it's a lot of wear and tear on the car and the fuel and all that fun stuff. So I can only go a couple times a week, maybe 3, and look at the records, and if they're the same ones, I could always find something somebody put back. They bring out records in the other bins, and sometimes people will carry them over there and throw them in there, and then I find other things I miss. Sometimes people miss posters and albums and all kinds of fun things. So there's always an opportunity for me to grab something, and sometimes I will show off those grab bags, and then I just repurpose a lot of the materials out of the grab bags and throw the stuff away. And it's not making anything any more valuable or rare. It's just, you know, the last time a rare record, I heard Matt Carney mentioned on the radio, and I believe that was the guy I just picked up, you know, and it turns out it's a $100 type of thing there, but will I get $100? Probably not. So these are the reasons why I grabbed this one. Carrier District is some sort of UK probably release. It's some sort of electronic disco type thing from a few years back here. And I lucked out and got a clerk that only charged me $1.29 for this whole thing because there were 3 LPs inside there. You can see one of the labels right there. I think it's imported from WW. Well, anyway, my friend kind of wanted it after he looked it up on Discogs and said it's about a $40 item. But that being said, this was in the leftovers and was all beat up and creased and damaged. And, you know, these DJ albums, they're never mint. You know, and if they are, it's probably they weren't good. You know, the better ones are the ones that are all beat up and played. But again, there's that one there, and I should have the vinyl somewhere off to the side here. Let's get these here. I was looking these up earlier, Carrier District, and then it has a track listing on the other sides here. So there's that one there. I didn't look up and see what the date was on these here. Made in England, so there's that one there. Getting anything from England these days is absolutely ridiculous. It's just impossible. So, you know, the record prices just keep shooting up here. A little bit of damage there. I don't know if it's from the same collection that had the mold. There was a mold damage collection there. And sometimes people will grab them regardless of the condition based on how often they see it and how rare it is. A lot of people just want to save time and go get the records that are there instead of having to go out to eBay and Discogs and pay $15. You know, $15 is not a lot, but if you want to be one of these people that has constant stuff to show on your channel, something new each week, and something that you can rotate out of your collection, you got to be buying records constantly. It's not like buy this, you know, once a month type of thing, and then somebody's going to come back to your videos. You know, you have to have videos all the time so people remember who you are. That's just how it is. Then I got this one here, And this one, I cleaned off some black stuff off the cover there, and it came out pretty good. But you see, there's some sort of, it's kind of a fragile cover there, so it's kind of a weakened paper. The Associates, perhaps. And this guy kind of looks like David Hasselhoff, all duded up at the salon back in the day. And it's purple on purple on purple on purple with some sort of greenish blue in there. And it's not great, but you know what? It's my record now. And this one was one of those where it had stuck to the paper, had stuck to the album, and I cleaned off most of it. You wouldn't even know that it was damaged that bad. It needs some more cleaning here. I don't have any of the professional tools there. Maybe one day I will have some sort of record cleaner, but I just use the old-fashioned method here. It's for my own purpose here, not for any YouTube tutorials, because when you start doing YouTube tutorials on things like that, you get a lot of backlash, and well, I use this, and my record player is that sort of thing, and you know, cleaning records is a positive thing. Cleaning baseball cards is a not positive thing in some circles there, so you got to kind of figure out what you need to do and where you need to do that. But again, I made it playable for my own particular curiosity, because I theoretically could take a picture of it, but my phone is not always charged. I don't always have the presence of mind to do that. Here is the inner sleeve for this one here. You can see it's eaten away. That's what had adhered to the vinyl record there. So not great, but and it's got some crud in there, but it's not too bad. I might have to clean that up. Some of that will wipe off, and some of it will not. So I'll have to decide whether I want to keep that. But again, I do not like to keep vinyl that usually doesn't have its original cover. Then this one here, I grabbed it only because I heard of them. You know, some groups, I'm not a big fan of their whole collection or their whole catalog, but other people, I just grab them because when do I see this very often? This is Kitchens of Distinction, and I know who they are because there were some DJs at a local radio station that were on strike or something like that, so they went to the studio and played stuff from their own personal collections. And Kitchens of Distinction, I think Smiling or whatever it was, I can't think of it right now, but it was one of their songs, and I really enjoyed that song, and I had recorded it on cassette because it was just stuff from usually across the pond or whatever you want to call it that I never get to hear. People would be playing all kinds of Depeche Mode and stuff, but it was usually not Depeche Mode. It was, you know, stuff that was farther beyond the radar that I had never learned of before. It was an amazing education, and I always remember that day or days, whatever, that had all that stuff there. And I still have one of the cassettes. None of my cassette players play, and people are like, really? None of your cassette players play? And finding a working cassette player is just really hard to do anymore. I got a dual somewhere that I need to get hooked up here, but again, this has a few songs on here, but this cover is pretty gross here. I don't know that I'll be able to clean that off, and it's really bad inside. So I'll have to do something not sanitize that, but kind of sterilize that. So I'll have to figure out something for that. You know, I got most of it off there, but it's pretty bad, and so I might have to throw that away. But again, another time, you know, for another day. And then here is the vinyl record here, with just some of my fingerprints on it from cleaning, and there's a little bit of crud still in there, but again, it's playable now. And I enjoyed the first song more or less. A little bit of, you know, paper loss right here, and a little bit of black on the label here, but again, that's acceptable for me now. I don't have to have everything super mint. And this one had tons of paper on it, tons of it, really awful there. And then I got one more album that I picked up, and I'll show you another one here. This is another one that I decided to turn into artwork here, and I think I already had one for the letter B, but I had gotten new letters, and some of my letters were starting to come loose and some of them were not. There's B for not Bob Newhart, but I just picked Bob Newhart here. The Button-Down Mind on TV. And the thing about this one here, as you can see, it's really well worn here. On the front and the back, very, very worn, and it's got somebody long owned it. Long time owning it, probably. I have no idea. What possesses somebody to get rid of their records, you know, now? You know, they've had them for 50 years plus. But the thing is that I've heard this comedy before. I'm not sure if I heard that on YouTube or where I heard that. I think it might have been a bonus, actually, on the DVD set. And so that's how I heard this particular comedy for it. So it was all very familiar to me. Also, somebody's put the $1 mark on there. That was a kiss of death for old Beatles albums, but now you can't even find ruined Beatles albums every once in a while. So you just never find that. But that's my, you know, divider for B, and I need to tape this down better here. I might just go ahead and glue that on there because, again, this really is pretty scratched, and I just don't have an ultrasonic cleaner to make it work there. Some of these cleaners will make things really amazingly sound, so you can just just take just about anything and make it, you know, more or less playable. Some people like the hisses and pops there, but you want to make sure that you don't damage your equipment. But, you know, I probably have damaged it a little bit, but not enough to would even bother me. Then we have the ever popular Tim Weisberg here, and I only wasted $1.29 on this one. I think I probably have to throw this one out. I'm not sure what happened to it. Maybe it got damaged in the cart when I had the stuff. Maybe somebody damaged it in the store. Maybe it got I have no idea. But I'm super collecting Tim Weisberg. This is circa 74. That almost looks like Tony Danza right there. You can't see, but it kind of looks like a young Tony Danza. And the light is just awful here. Get out of this one here. There's record store day. It's a little bit better. But I noticed when I was done with this one, it's got a pinch in it. And I don't really necessarily want to play that there, but there's some sort of bend pinch there. And I'm not sure. It's not really a crack or a split, but it's just kind of a crease or a kink there, and it's almost split through. So unfortunately, as mint as this is, I don't remember it being there, but it's a pretty thin record here, so anything could have happened. I could have accidentally dropped something on it, and I don't know. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but right where my finger is, there's like a line that's going through, and it's not busted. It just feels kind of like a kind of a high spot there, and then a low spot right here. So sadly, that has to go away, and the cover is not particularly mint. So again, it was only $1.29. If I really wanted this particular album, it's $1 on Discogs. But again, that same old thing. Everything's about $5 to $7 for shipping, maybe $10. And a lot of people will end up buying a lot of really low quality records at high prices because of that. And then I always like to load these up with different sleeves in here. They don't really particularly care at the bins, you know, you kind of modify these things as long as you're not trying to, you know, squeeze extra discs in there from other things here. But this one was pretty cool here. This sleeve was pretty good here. Some of these have a little bit of collector value. It's got everything on here. You know, it's got like, you know, Soldiers, Songs from Germany, Arza, you know, Alanu, just stuff that's no good. But it's got things like Flowers with the Rolling Stones, Procol Harum, the Zombies. You know, it's got some other rock there. I think that's John Mayall. No, that's 10 years after, it looks like. And there's somebody else there. I can't, you know, probably Johnny Rivers or something. I don't really know who that is, but got some interesting stuff there, you know. So there's John Mayall's right there, and then there's Moody Blues, Days of Futures Past there. So that's a teen beat right there. This is the popular and international. That's the stuff that no one wants. You couldn't give that stuff away, and I tried, so I threw a bunch of it away. Then we got the Mantovani section there and Phase 4 stereo. That'd be kind of a fun one to grab, you know, with the Phase 4 here. But again, that doesn't have any kind of value to me. I'm not looking for, you know, 50s, 60s bachelor pad type of music there, you know, with kind of the bar off to the side there. I mean, kind of like, I'm thinking like Mannix, you know, where he always had a bar, you know, these guys, these international spies always had a cool bar and some sort of audio setup in the corner and some fancy car that they were driving away and barely made it through every episode, you know, getting beat up or whatever, but then they were always having fun at the end of it. So I just don't know if that's something that I want to keep here. I'd probably keep this one here, but a lot of these I just use for packing materials, and people's like, oh my gosh, you know, but again, this is the typical sleeve here. It's turned brown, and these things are always good to replace because it's going to damage whatever, you know, it might do some harm to the actual LP or the cover, turn it even more brown. So these non-acid free papers are always good to remove, and so that makes great packing material, you know, or some sort of emergency, you know, holder for a record just quickly until you find the one you need. And then, like I said, it's just so confusing with all the different groups and the different genres out there. Again, all of my friends collect different things. One of my friends was into music back in the day. He was part of a record company. I don't know exactly sure he was in promotions or what he was, but, you know, through the Christian music scene, something to that effect. And so he knows a lot of the bands and the people who are surrounding that. So he's very adversed in music there, and really excited when he finds that type of stuff that people he met or dealt with, you know, whether it's CDs or records. And then other people I know like the 50s era stuff, you know, 50s and 60s type stuff, all the classic rock, and the garage bands and the garage rock, and is always telling me, you know, the ones he found and how he got it and what he paid for it, and you know, when I tell him about the stuff I'm collecting, it just goes, you know, and then he's on to another story, and that's fine. You know, we don't always have to enjoy what everybody else is grabbing. We just have to basically kind of, you know, say, hey, congrats, you found what you've been looking for. You know, it just takes something like a Tim Weisberg album to make me super happy. That one did not, because I think I'll have to throw that out. And that's one of the things I also want to mention, is that the Goodwill stores, people just dump everything, whether it's good or bad. Again, the first 2 or 3 records that I had were beat up and scratched and damaged and had paper on it and mold on the covers, and people were getting rid of those because they just said sayonara. You know, they probably should have gone in the trash, and that's probably where they would have gone at some point. And that's where Goodwill would have put them. They would have put them in the... but some of those things had active mold on it. I mean, like mold that was blowing around and getting in everything, and the covers were ripping apart, and you saw the dust flying, and people with asthma and stuff were reacting to the records. You know, record collectors don't always have the best, you know, respiratory systems, because they've listened to some of the most awful smelling. People that collect books and records just have an awful time sometimes. So far I haven't, but it just, again, it was one of those things that, you know, if you choose to put yourselves in those environments, then I go to a record store and I come across the exact same stuff. You know, the local record store here has something for $10, and I'm like, why is it $10? You know, and you have to look very, very carefully, because, you know, young people are very adverse at looking up stuff and finding things and the best records and doing the average price there. But you also have to realize that you better look at your records very carefully, because it looks clean on the outside, clean on the inside, and, you know, if you're not accurate grading on with names written on it, or heaven forbid, warped albums. I bought some in the dollar bin that were warped. They still played, but my Midge-er album is just kind of a little on the warped side, and I'm nervous to play side 2. You know, but thankfully I only paid $1 for that, and I only bought it for $1 because I was being polite. And you walk into a store, and I can't afford to buy everything, and somebody comes down and said, yeah, geez, you were cheap, you only spent $1 in there. And I said, well, I don't see you spending $1 in there. Well, I didn't see anything, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I said, well, you know, I mean, even though I spent $1, they might remember me from next time, and so they won't look at me like I'm trying to cheat the system or rob the store, that sort of thing. And so I always try to do that. You know, I can't buy everything from everybody, so I don't always buy things. But again, it was just something I kind of wanted, and I enjoyed the album, but unfortunately, it's damaged. And it's something that we can go and replace all of our damaged albums all the time. Again, I will show you this very quickly here before I end the video here. This is just one of my many shelves. You know, I got several record crates here, and this is not in a bad spot, or good spot, because there's a window right here. There's other stuff on the floor, etc., etc., etc. I can't show you all that. 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves, and then there's some more over here. And then there's some books and CDs over that way. The CDs are just absolutely just, unfortunately, a disaster there. But again, you know, I don't have the best system here, and I cleared out a few things in here. Thankfully, I have a little bit of room here, and I need to review a bunch of these. But again, people do not necessarily want the stuff, you know, I show them to them, and it's not that I just don't have the opportunity to always, you know, to present records to people. And it's unfortunate that I have to go out of my way to give people free records. It doesn't seem to be fair sometimes. Oh, by the way, I'm going out of the way to give you free records. And then they said, well, I'm just taking this one. I said, well, what about the rest of them? So I don't know, dump them, throw them away, or do something, or sell them on eBay. You know, that's their biggest thing. Sell them on Discogs. You might get your money back. And I'm like, that's not really where it's at. I do, so, you know, when I sell something for $25 and it's sat in the store or whatever for 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, and then I put it $10 and I know about every bit of what it's worth, and then somebody comes along and said, I'll give you $5. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll take $5. You know, and basically you do it on a credit card type thing, and that $5 was essentially like only a $2 win. You know, double your money. That's not really good. You know, it really takes up a lot of real estate. But sometimes you're just happy to get rid of something, and somebody's happy enough to take it, as little as it is. You know, when the swap meets I did, they were just absolutely dreadful. People were very nice and very picky, and we made some really killer deals there to get rid of stuff. And everything that I had was cheaper than Goodwill. I will say this, and regardless if you're cheaper than Goodwill and better condition than Goodwill, it's just one of those things that people are not going to be paying stuff. You know, if it's not what they want, they're not going to be paying a cent for it. I kid you not, one guy gets swamped, you know, he's in the main room, everybody swamps him. But what happens is that they don't see the big professional setup, you just see a few small records here and there, and regardless of how nice they are, people just say, I'm all done, I'm tired, blah, 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 whatever. You know, so grab a few things here and there, and then that's it. And so I make $40 there, and I was able to pay for the day, but I was not able to pay for anything else. You know, so and I got stuck with most of the records, and I'm like, I've already taken them off the shelves, and I don't know what to do with these things, and so I gave some of the 45s away to somebody who thought they might be able to put them in a bag and sell them for $5. Good luck to him. And then the rest of them, I just said, well, I don't know. I'm kind of out of my element. I'm done with these, you know, so what do I do with them? So I've been, you know, kind of recycling the covers and throwing the albums away because they just weren't worth me hanging around. Who wants to keep, you know, a 45 of Anne Murray without the original sleeve? I sure don't. I offered it to my neighbor, and he said, nah, that's okay. You can pitch it, you know, so that sort of thing. 25-minute video. Check out Record Store Day if you have any dollars. If you happen to participate in Record Store Day, put down in the comments you're going to do that or whatever. I just don't have a place to go. I just don't really care at the moment. I know I sure have friends that are probably doing it and other friends that are ignoring it, but I'm running out of battery and time here, and thank you for watching.